Local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Bob Grems is our guest. We're going to be talking about a variety of things because Bob can talk about a variety of things. We're going to start off talking about his book. And but before we do that, though, I want to say welcome. Good to see you again.
Joe, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. The book is Mindfulness for the Here and Now, and it is a book that I want to talk about the cover first. My guess is that this is a local artist that did this cover, yes?
It is, and I was delighted. I actually used the cover back 30 years ago when we started Daydreams for Children. Mm-hmm. We were doing the program at the fair that we'll talk about a little bit later on. But John David Mahaffey, it was a local artist, very well known in Boonville, owned a print shop there for a number of years, raced harness horses, and a lot of artwork around Boonville bears his signature. So I asked him to do the that particular piece of artwork from the letterhead for my stationery. Well, it's stuck with me over all these years, and I asked his wife here after he passed if I could possibly use that. She said, yes, just give him a photo credit for it. So we just took the Daydreams for Children off the cover of it, put Mindfulness for the Here and Now, and I'm just delighted with the cover.
Yeah. And what a great guy, John Mahaffey. Jeez.
He was.
An icon in Boonville.
Yep.
Describe the book. How would you describe the book?
Well, the book is not anything that I would think anybody would want to read cover to cover. I started collecting quotations years and years and years ago. I got a stack probably of that deep of index cards that quotes that spoke to me. And when I left my last job, I ran the Dutchess County Fair down in Rhinebeck, New York for 6 years. And when I left there, part of my program of recovery is that I spend a lot of time in the morning in either prayer, meditation, deep breathing, and some exercises. So part of that, during that process, I started getting these, what I call my inspirations. Little things would pop into my head and I would jot them down. And so it reached a point after a few years that I had enough of them that I typed them all up, showed them to a few people, and they said, you really should get these things published. Mm-hmm. So they're thoughts for the day. Mindfulness is a wonderful philosophy about staying in the here and now. Probably the best bit of information I ever received was from a psychologist friend of mine who said, Bob, the best thing that we can do is always to remember to stay in the here and now. So I use that in the book. And it's all about present moment living. And so these are a series of over 100 inspirations that I've had that I would think people could best be served by picking it up in the morning, before they rush off to work or whatever, and hopefully it'll set a mood for the day, something that they can think about, throughout the course of the day.
I get a little sense of, and I've read every one of his books, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got one of his that I read every morning. Mm-hmm. And that's probably where I received the idea. Just a thought for the day. The publisher Page Publishing did a wonderful job, I think, with the illustrations mm-hmm. and things that support my inspirations. But I'm delighted with the finished product, but I say to people, I just hope there's a little meat on the bone. I hope there's something there that people can take home and make life better for them in their process of trying to stay in the here and now.
Not easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my copy for a second because I want you to just pick out a one or two of. It must have been difficult, Bob, to all those years of writing down those quotations, saving those quotations. You got a ton of them. Now you got to pick out a few. Was it difficult?
Well, it really was because again, Joe, I'm not a writer. This is certainly the first book that I've ever published, and I wanted there to be something here that would be useful. So yeah, I tried to pick out the ones that spoke most directly to me that I thought might have the greatest application for the reader.
Yeah, you were telling me before the show that, was he a doctor or a lawyer that bought a bunch of these from you because he wanted to hand them out to his, was it a doctor?
Well, yes, he's an attorney. I met him through my association with the Topsfield Fair in Massachusetts. And he and his wife is a psychologist, so very much familiar with the whole mindfulness concept today. And they're the first people that I showed my list of over 100 quote inspirations to, and they were really the first ones that said, you really should get these things published. He's an attorney out there, and he bought 50 copies of it, and he leaves them in his office waiting room, and he says, then he just pick one up, and he says, the lady came in the other day and picked one up, and then she said, can I get one for my mother too? I really like what the book has to say. So
pick one out that appeals to you.
They
all appeal to you, but...
No, well, this one, I'm just open to it. Our reach need not be to all the world, but only to those we can touch within our reach.
And what do you want somebody to get out of that, Bob?
Well, I think we have a grand idea of what we can, that we can solve all the problems of the world, and God only knows there's an awful lot of problems in the world to solve now, but maybe if we looked at solving the problems in our own family or our own neighborhood or at the workplace, that's enough.
Kathy Lansing, someone who you know,
oh yes,
used to be the owner of the Boonville Herald, very active up in Boonville. She had a bumper sticker on her car. It was, think globally, act locally. Yeah. That's what that...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
This is one I like because of our seasons here. My confusion and worries are part of me, but then I look out and see the snow falling gently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've got a good view up in Boonville from your house. You've got a nice picture window there, I know, that overlooks the Boonville-Oneida County Fair.
I look right out at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Boonville-Oneida County Fair, but I wanted to first find out where the book is for sale.
It's available online at Barnes & Noble and also from Amazon.
$18.95?
Yep, $18.95.
Okay. And we'll talk more about the book later on in the show, but when we come back after this short break, we're going to talk about the Boonville-Oneida County Fair, because you got a new program coming up there for kids.
Happy to do it.
All right. Bob Grems, our guest. We're talking about his book. We're going to be talking about the Boonville-Oneida County Fair and the Joie Chitwood Thrill Show, which is no more, but you've got good memories of it.
I sure do.
Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Bob Grems, our guest. Bob is out with his book, Mindfulness for the Here and Now. We've been talking about the book. We'll talk about it some more in a little bit. It sells for $18.95, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com
yes.
too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but now we're going to turn our attention to the Boonville-Oneida County Fair. And Bob, you're so familiar with that fair. When did you first get involved? I mean, you live right across the street from it. You looked at it as a kid. When did you first get involved?
Well, I can remember, Joe, very vividly. One Sunday morning, I see this trailer come over, and I pedaled on my little bicycle. And you might remember from your years up there, as you go into the fairgrounds, there's a huge rock. It used to be a farm, the Chris working farm, yeah. And he parked the carnival trailers in his front yard. And there were two little kids standing up there, sitting up there in that rock, and I climbed up, and it was Bob and Julie Coleman. Mm. That started my association with the Colemans. And at 12 years of age, I can remember vividly helping Bob Coleman tear down the kiddie ride, which at that time was they were up near the cattle tents at the front gate. And 2 o'clock in the morning, or maybe it wasn't quite that late, but my mom and dad come through the front gate. Come on, Bobby, you got to come home, got to go to bed.
Yeah.
Good night, goodbye, Mr. Coleman, we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been involved. My summer job was with the Boonville Fair. I went on the board when I was still a student at SUNY Oswego.
You're still on the board.
And I came back on the board. I've had quite a circuitous route around Boonville. I'm back in the homestead now, so yeah, I look out that picture window. But, you know, from the fair, I was sitting there one year when Joie Chitwood came to town, and we were having breakfast in what's called the Carnival the cookhouse. And I was teaching school. I taught school here in Utica at JFK from 1972 to 76. So hello to all my former students out there. And he said to me, we're going to put a second unit on the road next year. Would you ever be interested in coming on as our announcer? Because I'd been doing a little announcing at the fair, and he had heard me. I said, well, that sounds an awful lot more exciting than teaching school. So I did. I climbed on board. So that was 14 years. Then I spent over a dozen years with two major carnivals out in New England doing their marketing and sales work. And then, as I said, my last job was running the largest 6-day county fair in New York State, down in Dutchess County. We could draw 250 to 300,000 people down there because of the large population that they had to draw from, you know. So
what does Boonville get these days? 45, 50?
45 generally would be in that ballpark. The last couple of years, 2 years ago, we probably had the best year in record number in recent history. Last year would have beat it, but we had a couple of days of inclement weather. The night of our big country show, it could have been a total rain out. We were able to get the show on, but it certainly affected the attendance. So,
speaking about your star entertainer, you've got one this year.
Oh, we got a huge superstar this year. Cooper Allen will be performing at the Grandstand Saturday, July 27th. And we would encourage, because tickets are really moving very well, we would encourage to go to boonvillefair.com as soon as you can to start either purchasing the track tickets or the grandstand tickets. And also, interesting, and the people know the name well here, Tom Tillis is going to be the warm-up group. Tom remembered from being on The Voice, the 24th season on NBC, and so it's going to be a great concert. So we hope people are really going to plan on being with us for that.
You know, talk about names. The Boonville-Oneida County Fair, Bob, over the years has really had some big names.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dolly Parton was there twice. Johnny Rodriguez, Connie Smith. The list goes on and on. Newell Wagner had a wonderful knack for picking talent. Barbara Mandrell was one of his favorites. We'd book him in January at the convention in Syracuse, and he'd get lucky between fair time and the fair, between the convention and fair time, they'd have a #1 hit. Jeannie C. Riley, I think it was the biggest night the Boonville Fair ever saw after her Harper Valley PTA song.
Yeah.
It was a huge night at the fair.
Tell people who Newell Wagner was.
Well, Newell Wagner was president of the fair for over 40 years, and he taught me everything I know about running a fair, about appreciating the fair, about the importance of presenting a good agricultural fair. He just was one of the most respected fairmen in the business. It did me, my heart, great favor. The first year I was president of the New York State Association of Fairs, and we had started a Hall of Fame, and he was one of the inaugural inductees into that organization's Hall of Fame, and certainly well deserved.
And speaking of that, Newell Wagner is in the Oneida County History Center Hall of Fame. Well deserved. What a gentleman he was.
First class.
Yeah.
First class.
Yeah.
Ask him how he is, top drawer.
Yeah.
Everything's answer was always top drawer.
Yeah. The fair dates back to 1888.
Yeah.
Tough to be in the fair business today, tougher, because of all the other, I mean, when the Boonville Fair started, when these other fairs started, there wasn't much else going on. Now, there's a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar and for your time.
Absolutely, no question about it. You know, Newell used to complain that we had kind of an exclusive on, well, just as an example, things like cotton candy. Now you can go to a mall and buy cotton candy, you know, but you used to have to go to a fair to get that. Pizza was something that the people that used to bring the pizza to the fair back in the 60s and 70s, you didn't get pizza locally. Now how many pizza shops are there? More than anything else. So yeah, the competition for the entertainment dollar today is, and that's why I think, but it's interesting, Joe, I'll give you a statistic. Last year, agricultural fairs in the United States combined outdrew the total number of NFL patrons that were at games. So that's a pretty good testimony that fairs hold up and are still doing well.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's all local and it's all hometown. You know, I love Disney World and I go there whenever I can, but that's all automated. When you come to a good county agricultural fair where the emphasis is still on agriculture, you're going to see real farm animals. You're going to see pies and cakes that ladies in the area baked. You're going to see local 4-H demonstrations. So it's local, and it's just so wholesome that I think I think we have a longing for that as a society anymore. You know, the institution, as you say, is 136 years old. I think part of us wants to reach back to some of that anymore. And
the Boonville-Oneida County Fair has got a nice way of kicking off that fair with a big parade.
Oh, it's a wonderful parade, absolutely. It's an opportunity. That's hometown America, you know. That's the local politicians coming up and shaking hands and floats and music, and it really does. And then that night, we encourage everybody to come and sit in the grandstand because there's a spectacular fireworks show. That's the best place to see it. And if people, well, there's a coupon that people can get in all of Oneida County stores, or excuse me, if they bring a coupon, a receipt from Oneida County stores, that's a free night at the fair.
And there's a Kids Day too, isn't there?
Well,
before you get into that, the new program, it's an old program brought back, and it brings kids to the fair. Talk about that.
Well, it started back in 1998 when I was on the fair board back then. We always had a promotion where we brought envelopes into the schools. Children wrote their names a week before the fair. We picked them all up a week before the fair. We sent them fair tickets. My sister Eileen Enders was a teacher at Conklin School at the time. She said, I filled out the envelopes because my kindergartners wouldn't have been able, but it's a waste of time. I said, Eileen, why would you say that? Who better than inner city kids to get to a good agricultural fair for fun and excitement? Oh, I agree. But they wouldn't have the transportation to get there, and if they got there, they wouldn't have money to spend. And I thought, that doesn't sound right. So that year I went out, I raised $5,000. We brought 333 kids to the fair. Joe, within a very few number of years, we were bringing 1,200 kids to the fair. Last year, I never throw anything away. So I had all the letters from the agencies, best day of the summer for the kids, beautiful pictures of the children on the rides, feeding them, all of that stuff. Put it all together, submitted it to the Oneida County Board of Legislators, and they called and said, we're going to give you $20,000 to reactivate that program. So we brought it back last year, included not only the inner city kids, we worked with the County Youth Bureau, Kevin Green and his staff, and 4-H Cooperative Extension. They help us with the educational components so that kids not only get free rides, we feed them, but they're in free entertainment, but there's a little bit of education and appreciation for agriculture that we also try to impart to the kids. So in addition, this year, the state of New York has just announced that New York State Ag and Markets is going to use our fair to launch a program which they will offer all fairs in New York State next year in 2025, giving fairs $25,000 to bring children to their fair. But they're going to give us the grant early this year so that they can use this as a pilot program to show all the fairs in the state how it operates.
All right, congratulations on that. Bob Grems is our guest. We're talking about his book, the Boonville-Oneida County Fair. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Joie Chitwood. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Bob Grems, our guest. We're talking to Bob about his new book, Mindfulness for the Here and Now. It's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com and sells for $18.95. We were talking a little bit about Joie Chitwood, and it's Joie Chitwood Jr., is it not?
Well, this show was originated by Joie Chitwood Sr. He was the founder, and he ran the show for several years. His son, Joey Jr., started in the business when he was 5 years old. When I went to work for them, Joie Chitwood III was 5 years old. So there were three generations, and Joey Jr.'s brother Tim ran a unit for a number of years. So it was a whole family operation. But the founder was Joie Chitwood Sr., an Indy car racer. When Lucky Teeter was killed doing a show, his wife asked Joey if he would dispense of the equipment. So Joey thought, well, maybe I'll put the show together myself, and that was the start of the Joie Chitwood Thrill Show back in 1947.
And for those who have never seen a thrill show, I saw the Joie Chitwood show. It was great fun. For those who have never seen it, describe what it was.
Well, it was an automobile thrill show that anything you could do with an automobile, they would do in the show. There was some crash work. We demolished 3 old cars during each show. There was always a motorcyclist. In later years, they learned the art of driving an automobile on 2 wheels.
Yeah.
So they're actually able to drive all the way around a racetrack on 2 wheels. It's very interesting that I think part of the demise of thrill shows, at one time Mr. Chitwood had 5 units on the road himself, and there were several other shows, competitors of his. Now there are no organized thrill shows left in the country like that with a good car sponsorship. But Mr. Chitwood had a knack of, he had good connections in Hollywood. He did the Clark Gable movie with Barbara Stanwyck, and so they started doing stunts in the movies. And then Joie Chitwood Jr. did all the stunt work for Live and Let Die, the James Bond movie. So I think it became in a sense, overexposed, you know. So, but it became costly to run these operations. You had to have a good automobile sponsorship, a full sponsorship, and other sponsors in order to make the thing profitable. And I don't know in this day and age, Joe, it's been a lot of years since there's been an organized thrill show, that if it would still have the appeal, but it sure did back then.
Well, and talk about sponsorship, I was looking at a YouTube video of Joie Chitwood Jr. show, and it was somewhere in Pennsylvania, and you were the announcer that night. And do you remember any of that stuff?
Any of the spiel?
Yeah.
How do you forget something that you've done 2,000 times? A good evening and a hearty welcome to the Joie Chitwood Danger Angel Show. Brace yourselves for an evening of thrills, chills, and spine-tingling action as these world champions drive through their action-packed events. You've seen them in the movies, you've seen them on television. They're here tonight to thrill and amaze you in person as they've thrilled millions throughout the world.
Well, you remember, yeah. You were there 14 years?
14 years.
Yeah, and just about every state in the Union, yeah?
We did shows, I did shows in all but 2 of the continental United States, all but Utah and Rhode Island. We took the show to South America on a couple of occasions. We were in Puerto Rico and in Colombia. Probably one of the greatest thrills of my life was on 2 occasions announcing that show at the Houston Astrodome in front of 45,000 people.
Did he do well financially?
It was profitable. It was back again, profitable because of the sponsorships. At the end of the season, they were able to they would recondition all of the equipment, and it was theirs to sell. So that was really where the money was. You know, they had a contract with Chevrolet. They got 32 pieces of brand new Chevrolet equipment every year. So that was where the money was. But we were well paid, and I'll tell you, you know, I was in my late 20s when I went there. Should mention Jerry Brondo, a high school graduate of JFK. He was the clown on the show for a dozen years. Another Utica boy, and it was just thrilling. It was thrilling.
Yeah. Let's get back to the thrilling Boonville-Oneida County Fair. When does that open up?
It's July 24th through the 30th. And again, we invite everybody to visit boonvillefair.com for those Cooper Allen tickets. And we just want everybody this is Oneida County's fair. The people in Oneida County should be very proud that it has withstood the ages, and we're still operating a good quality agricultural fair for the folks.
It's certainly got a nice venue up there,
Oh,
doesn't
it's
it?
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful fairgrounds, and it's a short drive from here up Route 12 or from Rome. You know, you come up through the beautiful Gorge Road there. So it's a wonderful drive, and we promise. The thing I love about a fair, Joe, there's something there for everybody. We got carnival rides for the kids. There's something that mom and dad can enjoy in the grandstand. Grandma and grandpa might enjoy the agricultural areas, all the farm animals. So there's something for everything. Good food that you only get sometimes. Carnival food. It's the one time a year that we cheat. That's the day that we want that fried dough and all those rich foods, you know?
Yeah, yeah. The parking too, they've got very adequate parking.
Well, they do. The wonderful working with Adirondack Central School, we use their parking lots, you know, for the fair. It's free parking, so that and it's just a mod. It's $6 to get in, you know, and there's one day on Wednesday that is a free day if you bring a canned good. All that food goes to the veterans. So there's plenty of opportunities. If you buy an advance sale ticket, it's only $5. So where do you go today for $5 or $6 and have a good day's entertainment?
Yeah. We didn't even get into the Dutchess County Fair, which was a huge one, and which I know you enjoy. Well, maybe next time you come back, we'll talk.
Anytime,
about
Joe.
fairs.
Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks. And don't forget Mindfulness for the Here and Now by Bob Grems, and it is Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. Don't forget CNYHomepage.com. There's a lot of good stuff there. Until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.